in Python, right? So whenever we are writing some code in Python, it's very easy and it's beginner friendly, right? So after this getting started with Python, so in the next session probably we'll be touching about this one DIP, that is digital image processing, how you can clean the data, right? How you can defog it, and all of those stuff. So first of all, we need to understand the basic structure of Python and how you can write it. Right? So let me give you a brief example. Right? So we have a language. Say for example, to give you a quick comparison, right? We have a language. Say for example, this is C++ and it's Python. Right? So in order to make a system do a thing, we need to write some codes that we all know, right? So code is basically an instruction. How you are instructing the computer to behave as per your need. So let me write a small program in C++, right? To add two numbers. Okay, you don't need to understand that, just see. Right? So to do that, variables. This is the number of lines, that means this is the number of lines we have to write whenever we are writing a small program in C++. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 line of code, right? So if we want to transpose this and we want to write it in Python, what you can do is you can simply write it as 10 plus 20. Right? And whenever you are writing 10 plus 20 and whenever you are executing the program, you will get the same result as you are getting it over here. So it's very easy. Okay? Getting started with Python is very easy. So whenever we are discussing some basic, please try to understand. Whenever you are not understanding, you can raise the question about that. Okay? Now moving forward, we'll be discussing about this variables, expressions and statements. What are the variables, what are expressions, and what are the statements that we use in Python. Okay? So let us assume that we have some data, like any form of the data. Like we have, say for example, your picture data. We have your picture data or your text data, right? Or numerical data. So I'm explaining this as simple as possible. So if we have this kind of data, right? So what next? Right? Usually what we do, we try to store this data in your hard disk. Right? This is the normal traditional way. Hard disk or your SSD or your pen drive. Right? These are the three things, or maybe you can store your information on your cell phone, etc., etc. But these are the way in which we generally store our data. But this is not the way in which we store the data programmatically. So to store the data in a program, we need something that is known as variables. Okay, so variable act as a container. Okay, so variable is nothing but a container. You can think it as a container where you can dump anything. Okay, it is an empty container, so here you can dump anything. It may be your textual data, it may be your image data, it may be your numerical data. Okay? So to store all of those data, we need something that is known as variables. Okay? As simple as that. Now the next one is expression. Okay? Expression means expression. Right? Expression means whenever we are performing any task in Python, in any programming language, if we want to have some condition written over there, say for example, right, in the previous lectures, we have seen that, let us assume that if whatever the image that you are using, right, let me write it in English. So if the image is image is hazy, then what we have to do then debate. This is the normal English that we usually write, right? In normal language, in simple English, this is how we write. But what if we want to write the same statement in programmatic way? So at that time, expressions comes to play, right? Expressions will check what are the expressions or what are the various operations that you want to perform. Okay, it may be if, it may be, we will be discussing all of those statements. Okay, or sorry, expressions, if, else, while, do, while, and all of those stuff. But please remember, expression is nothing, but it is used to express something. Okay, as simple as that. We are trying to keep it as simple as possible. Okay, there are n number of definitions for the expression. You can go through it. But to understand that in a layman term, we use this expression to write some certain conditions. Okay, what if this condition is met? Say for example, right, we have some data x and y, right, where x denotes, say for example, height and y denotes age, right? And let me write the height in the terms of centimeters. Say for example, let us assume that 160 centimeter, then the age is 80, 150, then age which is 70, 165, then age is 82. Okay, like this. So what you can do is you can average it out, right? You can find the average height, right, and the average age as well, right? Now let us assume that for this one, the average height is 160 and the average age is 70.5. Like this. This is how we have calculated it, right? This is how we have calculated. Now what if we want to write this in an expression, right? So to do that, what we have to do is if, right, if your age is equals to 160. Okay. We'll be seeing what is double equals to, what is the meaning of double equals to, and what is the meaning of single equals to as well. Okay. So this double equals to is used to compare. Okay. Whenever we want to compare something, right? If your age is equals to 60, this is comparative. Okay. And if we write it like this, if age equals to 160. So it will throw an error because it will work as an assignment operator. What it will do is it will try to assign this value to this variable age. Okay, variable means a container. So in this container it will try to add that value. Okay, so whenever we are writing a certain condition, right? So we write like this: if age equals to 160, then print, say for example height is, say for example age. Okay, this is height. If height is equals to 160, then print age. As simple as that. Okay, this is how we write it. Now, moving forward, right? Statements are nothing but these are what you can say lines in your code which do not execute. Okay, which do not execute. This is just for your understanding purpose. So if you are writing 100 lines or 1000 lines of code, right, and if somebody comes like later on and if you want to work on that, he will not get a clue about it, right? Whatever the functions that you have used, whatever the variables that you have used, right, he will not understand, right? So this statement means certain part of the code which is not executable. Okay, it will be there, but it will not have any effect on your code. So we'll be seeing how you can write all of those. Okay, now what are the things that we require in order to start with this Python? Okay, so first of all, we need to have a compiler. We need to have a compiler. So we need to have a Python compiler. Okay, the Python compiler is already installed. In all the system, you don't need to download it, but if you want to download it, you can download it. Okay, download Python. Then follow the simple step. Next. Okay, you can try it out, right? It's already installed, but you can reinstall it. No issue. If you are writing like this, if you are writing in a code, right? If you are suppose we are coding this one Python, and if you are writing APP, Apple, right? Then the machine will not understand whatever the thing that you have written, because machine only understand 0 and 1. So how does this machine break down these letters into zeros and 1? So for that we use something that is known as ASCII. It stands for American Standard Code for Information Literacy. Okay. So what does this mean is, for every letter we have a fixed number. Okay. So a letter can be represented in the form of numbers. So for A, right, 65. For A it's 65. For B it's 66, and so on. Right. So now what we can do is, from this 65, you can divide the 65, right? You can divide the 65. So let me divide it. Right? So the remainder will be how much? 1. Right? Remainder will be 1 since it is odd. So the first letter will be 1. Right? So we have to divide it continuously until and unless this one is bigger than your numerator. That's it. And whatever the code that you are getting over here, now say for example, we are getting it like this. So this represents your A with a machine. So this is how we are machine understand. Otherwise it will not understand. Okay, it only understands zeros and 1. And this sequence of 0 and 1 is fixed. Okay, the sequence of 0 and 1 are fixed for all the languages. So for that we need a compiler, so that the machine can understand whatever the thing that we are writing. Okay, and whenever we are writing the code in the Python, we say that we are writing it on high level language. Python is a high level language. Okay, so what is a high level language now? High level language means a language that is understandable by you. Right? So if I write some small keyboard of Python, say for example while, we know that, right? What is the meaning of while? What is the meaning of if? Right? We all know what is the meaning of while, what is the meaning of if, what is the meaning of break. We all know the meaning of this one. Right? But the machine doesn't understand at all. Right? So whenever we are writing a program or any code in human understandable language, we say that okay, it is a high level language. Okay, that's it. Now the next thing that we require is IDE. It's also there. Okay, whenever we are installing this Python, by default IDE will be installed. Okay, integrated development environment. Okay, so IDE works as a workspace. Okay, you can say IDE works as a blank book or a notebook. Okay, so in a simple layman term, you can define IDE as a notebook. Okay, you can simply define this IDE as a notebook where you can write your code and compile it. You know that now why we need to compile it, right? So now this is a notebook where you can write the code. Right? Now there are various kind of IDE. Okay, there are various kinds, there are various types of IDE, and the one that we will be using is Jupyter. Jupyter, Jupyter. Okay, Jupyter notebook. Okay, so this is one of the widely used notebook for Python programming. Okay, so what does this Jupyter will do? Now, whenever we are using this Jupyter notebook, okay, it will create a server. And we need to understand from the basic, then only we can come to this higher level of Python programming. So whenever we are using this Jupyter and whenever we are executing, actually it is a program, just like your small program, say for example your Candy Crush, right? That is a game, that is also a program. So this is also a program. So whenever we are running this program on our own system, then what it will do is it will create a server. Okay? It will create a server now. So what is a server? So server means it will allocate a workspace exclusively for you to perform a certain program. Okay, that is a server. Server means nothing but it is what? It is a storage. You can call server as a storage on a simple term. Okay, where you can enter the data, right? And you can fetch the data from it. That's it. But why we need to use this, Jupyter notebook whenever we are doing this, default ID, right? We can use this default ID also, right? But what is the problem over there? So whenever we are using this default ID, right? And say for example, you are writing the program and the length of the code is 100, or maybe sometimes it goes beyond that. Say for let us assume that it's 1000 line of code is there, right? And whenever we are running this program, and there will be errors. Right? So it's certain that there will be error whenever you are writing 1000 line of code. Error will be there, right? So whenever there will be an error, say for example the error is in the line 361. Okay, error is the line 361. Then what you need to do is you need to go back over there, then change that, then recompile it. Then it will move to the next line. This is the meaning of interpretation. Now let me briefly give you idea of how a Python program actually, how a computer system actually runs a Python program. Right? So let us assume that this is the first line, this is the second, this is the third, fourth, and fifth. Okay. So now there are two types of programming language. Okay. In one type, what we will do is we will compile this entire program and create an object and run it. This is the first way. Okay. Other way around. What is other way around? This is known as compiler type language. Okay. Compile type language. Another one is interpreted language. Okay. Yeah. Interpreted means it will execute all the codes line by line. Now say for example you have an error over here. Right? You have an error over here. Right? You don't know. Since you have not compiled it, because you will be compiling that at end, right? You will be running that at end. You don't know that okay, some errors are there. Now you have written 1000 lines of code. Now after executing the program, you came across that okay, now we have an error over here. It will give you whenever you are writing it, right? Whenever you are compiling it, it will throw an error like error on line number 361. Okay, it will give you that. So, say for example, the error is over here. Now, somehow you solve this error, right? Somehow you have solved this error. Now, the program will go to this line, right? The program will go to this line. Now, okay, it's fine. Now, it has encountered that, okay, over here, now it encounters that, okay, now again error is there. Now, what you have to do, you have to keep on compiling it again and again, right? So instead of doing that, what we can do is we can break down this code in the terms of blocks, small chunks, right? So that small chunk is provided by this Jupyter, right? So if one small chunk is there, right? If you are executing that, and if it is not executing at all, that means you can simply change that chunk of the code only. You don't need to recompile it. Okay, that is for the single scenario. But whenever we are developing some deep learning models or machine learning models, what happens is one machine learning or deep learning model may take up to 7 days in executing. Right? After 7 days, you got to know that okay, there was an error in line number 23. Then your entire 7 days. So instead of doing that, what we can do is we can simply use a Jupyter notebook, right? And then we can start writing our code, right? So that is there. Yeah. Now what we can do is now we can directly jump to writing some small programs. Okay. Now to do that, right, you can open up your system, right? Let me guide you how you can do that. So on your desktop, you can create a new folder. Right? You can create a new folder and you can give it your own name. Right? You can give your own name. In my case, I have given it as Atal activity. Right? If somebody has put it on Ubuntu, you need to restart your system. Okay? All of you, it's better if all you are in Windows operating system only. Okay, there are two operating systems in this, installed. So and you can see something like this. If it is not coming, what you can do is you can simply go to this Windows button, write Jupyter Notebook, Jupyter Notebook, and hit enter. You will see Jupyter Notebook over there, and you can open it from there as well. The address bar, you can write Jupyter space notebook, and your notebook will get open like this. So now what next? Right? After that, what next? So do not close this one. Whatever you see over here, do not close it. You can just minimize it. If you close it, your server will be closed and all the progress will be lost. Okay? So after that, click on this new icon, right? New, then new notebook. Now you will see something over there. Something like this, right? Click on the new, right? And the first one, notebook. Python 3. Yes, Python 3. Python 3, yes. So now, once we are in the screen, you can start writing the code. Right? You can start writing the code. So as we have discussed, right, you can write a simple code to add two numbers. Okay, let me show you how you can do that, right? So to add two numbers, right, we need to store it first, right? So in order to store it, we need a variable. Okay, we need a variable to store a value. To do that, what you can do is you can simply name your variable anything. Okay, let me name my variable. Variable means a container, so a container must have some name. Right? In our kitchen, all the containers will have name. Right? This contains something, this contains that, and all of the stuff. So here also, your variable should have a name. So for me, let me write the variable name as var1. This is my first variable. var1. Now, what I want to do is, I want to store some numbers over there, right? So to do that, we need one equal to. That means we are assigning some value. Okay. Now, if we are writing 2 equals to, that means we are comparing, right? We are just writing 1 equals to. That means now we are assigning. Okay, we can assign some values over here. Okay, where 1 is 10, right? And where 2 is 20. So I can write where 1 plus where 2. That's it. As simple as that. It is very, very simple to write code in Python. Right? Nothing. After putting where 1 and where 2, what you have to do is shift enter, shift plus enter. Other way around, what you can do is you can see a play button over here. And you can simply click on that play button and it will execute the code for you. Yeah. So it's very simple. So if we wish to go with any other programming language, so you have to write a lot. So So it's pretty simple to write a code using Python. Okay. So similarly, you can perform any mathematical operation, right? Now, the next thing is, let us try to understand the statements. Okay, what is the statement? So now, if I want to write a statement, so a statement can be written using hash. Okay.
Comment line.
Yeah, comment. Okay, comment. So to write a comment, you can simply write hash over here. Now, let me write. I want to perform now subtraction. Program for subtraction. Simple. Simply I have changed this plus to minus, right? And the answer is minus 10. So if somebody visits this code, right, later on, and if he is in the block number 2, so he can easily figure out using this comment, like, okay, this is a program for subtraction. So this is why commenting is very, very important. Whenever we are writing a Python program, writing comments is very, very necessary. Yeah, it's very, very user friendly.
I have to again write the variable value. And
Yes.
it cannot take from the previous one.
You can take it. Yeah. See, already it is compiled, right? For now, for my case, it will take, it's 10 and 20 only. But in your case, suppose if I am giving the value as, say, for example, 20 plus 20. It's 40 and it's 0. 20 minus 20 is 0. Okay, for understanding, I have written the variable value over there. Okay, so that it will be a clear concept. Otherwise, it will be kind of problem. So this is how we can write. No, this is just your understanding. It is not compulsory. Okay, this is just for your understanding. It is not compulsory whether you want to write it, whether you don't want to write it. It's up to you. Yes. But code is very, very important. The hashtag is compulsory. Yeah, hash is compulsory. Okay, you have to write hash, then after that you will write your, whatever statement that you want to write. Okay. Now, after that, yes, the next thing is we need to understand about markdown. Okay, we need to understand the structure first, then only we can go into this Python, right? So what if we want to write, instead of this, we want to write something in bold, right? We want to write something in bold, or we want to write some headings, right? So to do that, what I need to do is I will go to the new cell. Okay, I will go to the new cell and over to the top, right? And over here you can see code, right? So click on that code and simply click markdown. Simply click markdown. Now what the markdown will do is it will format. Okay, whatever the thing that you will write over here, it will format it. Now you will see. Okay, whenever you are writing hash now, right? Your color is changed. Okay, so hash provides the biggest font possible for your compiler. Okay, now this is the biggest one. Now let me write. This is the biggest font. Right? This is the biggest font. Okay, hash space. Then you can write. This is the biggest font. Okay. So if we want to write a code, say for yes, ma'am. So if, right. So we want to have. We don't want to write like this. We want to write in a proper structure. So what we can do is, I will again.
But the font is not increasing. Yeah.
Which font? After running the program, if the font is not increasing, then you need to give a space. Okay, hash space, then only you have to write it. Okay, So now what if we want to write a program, right? Say for example, write a program to make a simple calculator for addition and subtraction, right? So we don't want to write it like this. We don't want to write it like this. So what we can do is we can go to this block again, right? By default it's code over there. Right? By default it's code over there. So what I will do is I will simply select this code. Right? I will simply select this code and I will go to the markdown. Right? Now let me write it like this. Python program for Python program for I want to have some smaller fonts. So the number of hash defines how big or small your font is. The number of if the number of hashes are more, that means the font is small. Okay, if the single hash is there, that means it is the biggest one. 2 hashes, just a small. Okay, third one again small. So in the next one, I want to write the Python program for 1 addition. Now more small. Subtraction. Okay. If you run it, see, the fonts are very different, and it is looking good also. Okay. Python program for addition and subtraction. Okay. So this is how we can write comment and mark down in. If you are unable to do them, so you are in this screen, right? When this screen, you are in this screen. So yeah, go to this block first, right? Click on this block and over to the top. If you go to the top, you will see code written over here. Right? So in that code, simply click and you will see second option, that is markdown. Right? Click on the markdown. Right? Click on the markdown. Now it will be treated as a markdown. So in order to write that markdown, first of all give hash. So if you are writing hash and it is as blue, that means the markdown is already been activated. Right? Give a space. Yes. That is properly formatted. If you want to have a proper structure and a proper format of code, then it is better to have a markdown like this. That's where we can use this markdown. How we can use this markdown in bigger problems or bigger programs. This is a pretty big program of a person from whatever we have done. This is how you can format it using this markdown. It's very convenient to write something like this, right? Key components of this experiments, all of those stuff are there. So it becomes very readable and it's become very presentable whenever we are writing the code whenever we are writing these comments in a markdown. It's beautiful. See, heading is there, body, then again footer is there. Okay, so it becomes very what we can say, easy. PDA. So here how you can write it. Okay, it's just like writing a book. Okay, it will be very easy, and if somebody comes and see the code, then it becomes very easy to understand that also. So we'll be seeing this one also, how you can design this person plot and all of those in later half. Okay. So it's very big, but we'll try to do that. Okay, whatever the gates that we have talked about. Okay, this is for the gates only. 0, 0 is there, then 0. Okay, that means it is for your OR gate. We'll be implementing that at different gates, and we'll be seeing how you can design the perceptron and all of those stuffs. Okay, so for now, understanding the basic structure is very important. Okay. So this is how you can do. Then
How to save this code for future?
Yes, I will be sharing this code. So you can
How to save after writing the code?
see whatever you write it over here. Control S, Control plus S.
In which location it will be stored?
See, in which
Folder.
location it will store is whenever we have created a directory at the first place, right? So in that directory, if I open this, whatever the Jupyter compiler is there, right? So in that directory, you can see a file will be created, untitled 1.ipynb file. So if you go back to your folder, right? Let me go back to this folder. So this is the folder that I have created, right? See, untitled file. Okay. So now, if I want to change this title, right? If I want to change this title, what I can do is I can go back over here. And I will open that particular notebook. This one, untitled ipynb. And I will click it over here. Now I can change it, okay? Do not change this .ipynb because it will change the format. Now I will change this to fest.
IPA, what is the significance of IPA?
This signifies that okay, it is a Python node.
Dot IPA no.
Yes, this is a format. ipynb is Python notebook format. Okay, it is specified that it is a Python notebook. File estimation. That
Only dot py is
the .py is only Python. Okay, whenever you are saving that in Python, it will save it as .py because that is Python executable file. So whenever you are saving it, that it is a notebook. Okay. So yeah, that's it for today. We'll be continuing more on next year. Thank you, ma'am.